Welcome to the Celtic Myth Pod Show, bringing the tales and stories of the ancient Celts to your fireside. Episode SP32, 2012 Yuletide Party Show. Hello, welcome to the Celtic Myth Pod Show. I'm Gary.
And I'm Ruth. Thank you very much for downloading our special 2012 Yuletide Party Show. We hope you enjoy the fun.
Yep, and thank you, and come on in. We've got some amazing friends to help the party get us all in a lovely, warming, feet up, have some slow gin Yuletide mood. We have got a lot to share with you as well, haven't we?
Yes, so settle back and enjoy 7 pieces of music.
7?
Yes, 7. A short poem by our resident bard, Joliffe, and a wonderful story from the novel The Shee by Dennis Sweet.
Oh, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And links to all of our musical guests can be found on the special Friends of the Show page on our website, as well as in the show notes as usual.
Okay, with all this wonderful stuff, where are we going to start then?
Let's start by watching the rising of the sun at the winter solstice with Phil Thornton.
Okay, so have a listen to his track Winter Solstice from his album Solstice. Oh, that was beautiful. I didn't realise he'd made so many albums. Phil's a long-time friend of yours, isn't he?
Yes, I've known him since I was 18, when he was playing with what was a groundbreaking synth pop band called Expandis. And then he branched out into all sorts of amazing new age and world music. So he's been making albums since the early 80s.
Ah, yes, and we saw them last year, didn't we? They've got
did.
back together again.
We did, yeah, and quite amazing. Phil and John are still making fun music that's hard not to dance to. We'll be hearing a lot more of his own atmospheric mood music in later shows. Keep your ears peeled and check out the show notes for more details about all of the amazing projects that he's been involved in over the years.
Yeah, definitely something to take a look at. Now, our next guest is a much-loved regular on our show.
Really? What have you got for us next?
Well, you remember the superb music by Jenna Greene on the albums Crossroads and Wild Child?
Yes, she's got an enchanting voice and she's a superb harpist.
Yes, that's very true. Well, she's released a superb one-track album on Bandcamp for free download called Mystic Winter.
Oh, that's cool.
So have a listen to the magic and enchantment of Jenna Greene with Winter's Common Ground, released for this winter season.
Hanukkah, Solstice and Christmas are all filled with the same wishes. If we let differences be released, we can find common ground and there find peace. We're all celebrating a season of light, a time for giving and making things right. The soul's own spark is hope in the dark of long winter nights. And all the prayers we whisper, and all the old songs we sing, really the same song, singing love is king. No matter what name, we're all the same. Can we find winter's common ground? We all want to be heard, we all want to do good, all want to be cared for and understood. We all look for someone to keep us warm through the cold of winter storm. Beyond religion and ancestry, we all come from the same place of love. You and me, we're all one race, we all want grace. I think it's hidden in peace. I think it's hidden in peace. And all the prayers we whisper, and all the old songs we sing, really the same song, singing love is king. No matter what name, we're all the same. Can we find winter's common ground? Songs by the firelight, stories and laughter, feasting, dancing, and presents after, reflecting on the year with loved ones near. Take a look and listen, we share so many traditions, and all the prayers we whisper, and all the old songs we sing. One more with love. Love is king, no matter what name. Let us proclaim. We will find winter's calm unground. We will find winter's calm unground.
That's such a great message for everyone. She does make such beautiful music, doesn't she?
Yes, she certainly does. And she's right, we all share the same common ground.
Here's something else that's almost a common tune for us all, but with a new and unique version, courtesy of Celia.
Oh yes, I think we all know at least one version of this. You're talking about her version of Silent Night called Solstice Night, aren't you?
Yes. Have a listen.
Silent night, solstice night, all is calm, all is bright. Gather the ancestors round the fire. Let go the past, bring a new dream alive. Sing to bring in the light. Sing to bring in the light. Silent night, oh, the silent solstice night, oh, the solstice night is calm, candle is bright. Gather the ancestors round the fire. Let go the past, bring a new dream alive. Sing to bring in the light. Sing to bring in the light. Silent night, oh, the silent solstice night, oh, the solstice night is calm, candle is bright. Gather the ancestors round the fire. Let go the past, bring a new dream alive. Sing to bring in the light. Sing to bring in the light. Silent night, oh, the silent solstice night, oh, the solstice night is calm, candle is bright. Gather the ancestors round the fire. Let go the past, bring a new dream alive. Sing to bring in the light. Sing to bring in the light.
I love the way she layers her voice with so many harmonies. That track, Solstice Night, comes from the Celia Sampler 2 album, and you can find out much more about this multi-talented lady in the show notes.
Well, that was fabulous. But let's take a break from the music for a while, shall we?
Okay, what did you have in mind?
Well, you know that we're venturing into the realms of Annwvn in our stories at the moment.
Yes?
Did you know that our resident bard Chris Joliffe has written a superb poem about the other world of Annwvn? And I think it would be a superb time to bring it to our listeners.
No, I didn't. What a good idea, though. Thank you, Chris, for this great poem.
Annwvn. I have fallen to beyond my youth. Deep beyond my birthing have I cast my soul, into the black soil of the womb land, into darkness, into Annwvn. Here have I come to rest. Here have I returned to find myself. Here may I encounter the first shape of my soul, in darkness, in Annwvn. Black soil wherein I rest, under dark skies, a strange, familiar land. Here is my soul's yearning, my first home, in darkness, in Annwvn. The land is black, the primal Mother Earth, the sky the dark of formless beginnings. There is no fear or loss, only love, in darkness, in Annwvn. And the land is lit by a bright horizon, gleaming, shining silver grey and gold, and all is hope, and we shall be born again, in darkness, in Annwvn.
What a superb reminder of the wonder that lies hidden in the darkness.
Especially as here in the Northern Hemisphere, winter is such a time of darkness and reflection for us all. For those of you in the Southern Hemisphere, you're experiencing those bright horizons now.
Well, we hope the weather's good for you.
We certainly do.
Yeah.
Can you send some here? We could do some.
We could.
Shall we have some more music?
Yeah, good idea.
I'd like to hear from our dear friend Caera. Now, she and her friend Myra got together as the band Gwyddelig and made an album called Wake the Dragon, and also made this beautiful 16th century carol called Shee by Prioz. Have a listen.
Shee by Prioz que va chanter, crescente, c'est tomber sur la Si c'est le despote qui renverse dans son testament innové. Longue Gabriel, fondant saluta des paradis, terra visita les destinats, c'est l'idée joyeuse pour sa sauve, les disciples. Tombe me frena Sarah eventa. Je vais prier que va chanter, crescente, c'est lui tomber sur la Noé. Et le si c'est le despote qui renverse le son testament innové. Dit à Gabriel, connaissez pour y faire que c'est homme, j'ai puissant extrêmement, et qu'à mais j'apprends mes castita. Je vais prier que va chanter, crescente, c'est lui tomber sur le Noé. Et le si c'est le despote qui renverse le son testament innové. Longue Gabriel, le ciel y a dit, et descendra de le Saint-Esprit des paradis. Je n'étendrai guère qui cachera, si tant sera mystère.
That's Caera singing with Myra playing the harp, I think.
So gorgeous, isn't it?
Mm.
These ladies are amazing. Both the words and the music were written in 1556. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Wow. Mm.
But did you know that Gwyddelig is the Welsh language name for the Irish Sea, the body of water that stretches from the Hebrides to Tintagel, from Wales to Ireland, and then all the way to the United States?
Isn't that the Atlantic Ocean?
You're not supposed to say that.
Isn't the Irish Sea just between England and Ireland?
She's trying to make it romantic. Work with me here.
Even my geography's not that bad. Right, anyway. Yes, go.
You're supposed to say, no, I didn't. Because you said, was it written in 56? Did you know? And I said, no, I didn't. So I come out with something amazing and you say, no, I didn't.
No, I didn't. It's still questionable. How did you find that out? Because I really want to know now.
It's in the liner notes of the album.
Oh, right. Okay, you cheated.
I did. Do you fancy some more amazing harp music?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. What have you got?
Well, our friends Phil Holland and Dave Palmley, or Celtic Twist as they're better known, have sent us a preview of their forthcoming album, A Celtic Twist Christmas, with a track called Snowfall.
That was really, really beautiful. And not just harp either. They're very clever.
They are. They play a lot of instruments between them. We'll hear some more from their latest albums in future shows.
I'm certainly looking forward to hearing more of them.
Yeah.
That tune seemed to be filled with images of snow, and it reminded me of the music that you used to be able to hear in music boxes.
Oh, yes, that's true. You don't see many of those these days, do you?
No, you don't. I had one as a little girl, and I think my grandmother had one too.
Yeah, I vaguely remember them. I think after that, we're all ready for the story now. Can you tell us anything about it?
Well, this story comes from the book called The Shee. And you've got to understand the term the Shee refers to a newly discovered fairy mound in the west of Ireland. The book is part one of a trilogy and is steeped in Irish mythology and culture. Ultimately is about the conflict between the Tuatha Dé Danann and the Fomor, and how the future of the universe may depend on its outcome. In the first book, a Shee mound is discovered and opened, and something comes out of it. In the small section we're about to bring you is the moment when one of the main characters encounters the fairies for the first time and speaks to someone rather special.
The Shee by Dennis Sweet. Paul opened his eyes. It was pitch black. He fumbled in the darkness for his wristwatch. It read 3:32 a.m. It then occurred to him that he had to go to the bathroom. He removed the unzipped cover of his sleeping bag, stood, and careful not to wake the others, he slowly opened the bug screen on the tent and stepped outside. The stark landscape was illumined by a billion glittering stars and the one mist-haloed moon that hung in the south. A pale, thick fog hovered a few inches above the ground, shrouding the land for as far as the eye could see. Paul walked gingerly, in bare feet, to the western side of the mound, where he thought he would be unseen by any potential onlookers. As he stood, listening to the warm, flat sound of urine striking the dry turf, he regarded the Shee, a dark, shadowy protrusion, like a vast tower in a sea of cloud. The brilliant stars above burned furiously, and Paul was reassured to see Orion the hunter chasing his paramours, the 7 shy sisters. In the north he observed the Big Dipper sagging low, spilling whatever it held. When he'd fulfilled his body's wish, he stood observing in reverent silence the dreamlike scene around him. He craned his head back, his face to the heavens, and it was as though he and the stars were the only things in the world. And then he lowered his face, and there was the Shee, standing dark and silent, just as it had stood for millennia immemorial. He felt the untold oldness of the place, and the wonder, the absolute wonder. There in front of him was the Ballishnahini Shee, a thing rich with secret significance. And here he stood, alone with the stars, gazing at it, almost peeing on it. He now knew it that well. He had sneaked inside of it, the womb of the world. He had stood where humans had stood at the first blush of humanity. He felt giddy, like when you're born or when you receive your first significant kiss. Looking down at the warm mist around his feet, he noticed it was moving, although there was no breeze. He walked toward the west face of the mound. As he approached, he saw something that he had not noticed before, but he couldn't have failed to notice this. There was a hole in the side of the Shee, the hole of his reverie of a few nights before. It was a semicircle, about 3 feet in diameter, and it was absolutely black, a perfect oval of oblivion against the pale, weak light of the mist, the moon and the stars. Paul felt obliged to ask himself if this was a dream, but he knew it was not. He approached the hole and noticed the thick, warm mist was flowing out of it and away from it, like a stream of cream pouring gently and slowly in soft, swirling currents across the landscape. he gazed into the western mist, and suddenly became aware of a multitude of dim luminescent spots, as though various colours of candles had been lit under the fog, and while he watched, they became brighter and began to move about. Paul felt a flood of wonder and fear and excitement flow over him as he observed the strange spectacle. The spots arranged themselves in ranks and files like a military parade and began moving toward him. He then detected a sound arising amid the utter silence, creeping across the threshold of hearing. A soft, silvery, musical sound, like tiny bells, and voices. There were voices singing. He listened, but he could not understand. And when the army of lights was about 30 feet away, it disbanded and reformed into 100 small circles, each containing 10 to 15 luminous spots. As the circles formed, they began to rotate, one cycle clockwise and another counterclockwise, and then 2 cycles clockwise and 2 counterclockwise, each time adding an additional cycle to the dance. All moved in perfect unison to the soft, silvery sound of the song that Paul suddenly recognised with a shock. It was the tune that Ellen had played. It was the melody of the old man's song. After several minutes, the small spheres of multicoloured light began to break apart from the circles and to form long lines that snaked through the mist. These then united into a single vast circle which imitated the earlier actions of the smaller groups. 1 revolution clockwise, 1 counterclockwise, then 2 clockwise, 2 counterclockwise, and so on. And with each additional revolution, the cycling increased in speed until the enormous circle spun at an incredible velocity, only to stop dead and then spin in the other direction. Paul observed the vast wheel of light extending west for probably a mile across the mist-shrouded plain that led to Loch Corrib. He then looked up and saw that the bizarre stars were likewise revolving counterclockwise around a point directly above him. They moved slowly but perceptibly, turning on the unseen pivot at the heart of the sky dome. He laughed a nervous laugh. Both the stars and the lambent light wheels stopped moving. Paul then noticed that the sky was brightening slightly in the east. The music abruptly stopped, and the luminescent spots broke the circle and moved rapidly and chaotically here and there, to and fro. They finally settled down and began to dim gradually, until they were barely perceivable in the pale white fog. Now, thought Paul, was the time to go and get Sean and Ellen and Anna. He turned and noticed a dozen or so lights floating under the fog less than 3 feet away. He leant down, stepped toward them, trying to peer through the veil of mist. As he stood watching the orbs bobbing slowly before him, their light began to increase in intensity. They slowly rose up, breaching the surface of the mist, bathing him in a billion brilliant, blinding colours. He instinctively shut his eyes and held his hands over his face. He then turned and rushed to the western face of the Shee, and with his back against the turf, he squinted through his fingers in an attempt to view the approaching balls of light. But what he saw were no mere lights, but brilliant, opalescent human bodies. Through the dazzling shimmering of 1,000,000 mad colours, he detected the outlines of lithe, naked human forms, glowing sheer perfections. They sang the song in soft, bell-like voices, and floated over the mist to where he lay. They moved above him and around him, coming within inches of his face and then moving gently away. Paul squinted and peered through his fingers in an attempt to examine them, and then he remembered what had happened to Portcullis Carol 74 years earlier on the same spot. He began to tremble overpowered with feelings of horror and dread, and he heard himself shouting,
"Please don't hurt me! Please don't hurt me!"
Then the music ceased. He kept his eyes tightly shut, wondering if it was safe to open them again. Before he could decide, he heard a voice nearby. A human voice.
"Oh, Professor, are you all right? Are you awake now, Professor?"
Paul had heard that voice, those words before. He slowly opened his eyes, and to his amazement he saw Bobby Blake sitting on the turf next to him, wearing his shabby green corduroy jacket, smiling his gummy smile.
"What the hell are you doing here?"
asked Paul in a fearful voice. The old man looked at him with amused concern.
"I apologise if me and me friends gave you the frights just now, Professor. It's just that, well, you're an uninvited guest at a rather exclusive party, you see."
Bobby gazed out at the dim, unmoving spots of light in the mist.
"I don't understand,"
said Paul weakly.
"Oh, I'm sure you do,"
insisted Bobby. He turned his face away, and Paul heard another voice, familiar, speaking other words he had heard before.
"Listen to me, young fellas. You don't want to get near that mound. Do you hear me? Listen to me when I tell you, there's an unholy thing, the Shee. If you go there, no good will come of it. Haven't you heard of the Ceora? Don't you know how they deal with trespassers? Listen to what I'm telling you, and stay clear of the mound."
Paul grabbed Bobby by the sleeve. "That was the old man at the Galway train station the day we arrived." Bobby Blake looked at Paul and smiled.
"Sure, that's who it was, and where it was, and when it was. Oh, Taddy Burke, oh, Wandering Odin, as they call him. I remember when he lost that eye of his. No older than you are now, he was then. You see, he had what some call the power, although many others call it the curse. And some folks is born with it, though it's rare these days as compared with how it used to be. He could see us, you know, as we truly are, even when we didn't want to be seen. So one evening like this, except it being in the dark winter, he comes here to the Shee, creeping about watching and us going at it with the dancing and the singing and having a merry time of it.
Bobby laughed and shook his finger at a nearby spot of light.
So that one over there thought to have some gas at the mortal boy's expense. She sneaks up on him, foxed out like a beautiful mortal girl, and she asks him some, I forget what. Anyways, he turns and gazes on her, and she sees right away that he sees her as she truly is, behind the veil she wore. So she asks him,
Which one of those eyes of yours are you seeing with the handsome mortal boy?
And he, damn near scared out of his trousers, says to her, This one, pointing to his eye.
The old man reached over and touched Paul's cheek under his left eye.
Well then,
says she in a coy girly voice.
I'll have that one for myself.
And quick as a brown trout, she reaches up and takes his eye off him. Quick as that.
The old man snapped his fingers and laughed, but then noticed the joke was lost on Paul.
Now, I don't be thinking badly of her,
continued Bobby Blake.
She did the lad no painful harm, not at all. It was just that his eye was gone. Poof, perfectly painless. It had to be done, you know. Or at leastwise, that's how she viewed the matter. Times being as they are, we're obliged to keep ourselves on the inside. On the hush, you might say. It wouldn't do for us to be found out generally. Not yet. Soon, perhaps. But not yet.
Paul had recovered some composure, but was still overwhelmed with the profound thrill of this strange, inexplicable circumstance.
So, you really, what do they call the gentry? The Shee folk?
Bobby Blake smiled broadly.
Oh, so we're called hereabouts, and many other names besides. The good people, the fair ones, and so on, but we've got us other names in other places besides,
he said as he pointed his finger in different directions.
Over there, we're the Tulwith tag. Over beyond there, we're the Fays. Over there, some distance, they call us Ta Exotica, those on the outside, as you might say. And we've got us as many names as there are shining stars in the sky, with Tickwin names.
But what do you call yourselves?
Asked Paul. The old man looked hard into Paul's eyes.
That I cannot say. It isn't that I'm inclined to be obscure on the point, you understand. It's just that our real names, our real natures under these masks, are too complex and lovely to be said with words and sounds like you mortals make in the air. If you were to pile together all the most beautiful and the glorious sounds in all the mortal languages, you still wouldn't begin to name us, or to know us.
After a pause,
Bobby began to softly sing the mysterious melody in a raspy voice. Behold these bright clothes and wonder, strange children of limitations that are constellation shattering reality. For we're too beautiful for the mortal eye to see, for the mortal mind to comprehend. Our appearing is too excessive for human experience. Even our glittering cloaks will destroy you.
That's the song old Porter O'Carroll sang,
exclaimed Paul. Not really. Though we'd be singing it no more, said Bobby Blake sadly.
Did you kill those old brothers?
Asked Paul in a forced, calm voice. The old man looked west and slowly shook his head. Indeed I did not, nor did any of my own people. And yet, if truth be told, I do feel somewhat responsible for what befell them. You see, sir, like a wandering Odin, and like yourself, little Paddy was where he shouldn't have been when he shouldn't have been there. Like I told you before, after having his hopes and his dreams cut off and served up to him on a dish by that old Sheila Dawn, he found his way out here during our Samhain festivities, soaked entirely in the crater. Ah, sure, it seems like just yesterday, or only a moment ago. Anyway, he falls asleep here, near this very spot we're seated upon, and while we're going on with our merry affairs, up he jumps, a shrieking and a bawling. And seeing him distressed as he was, I myself come over to try to comfort him and sing him back to sleep as you would a mortal child who wakes with the dark frights. And in my haste, though, I forgot to dress, you might say. He sees me as I truly am. And before I could correct the situation, the damage was already done. Oh, must sure a bad day's work, that. For the many years that followed, I tried to do what I could to make some recompense, helping out at the farm and slipping the occasional gold coin under his pillow. It's a terrible thing to know little Paddy and his brother Jimmy are gone from the mortal world. A terrible thing. While Paul looked at the man sitting next to him, he pondered the million questions he wanted to ask. As a scientist, as a human being. As though reading his mind, Bobby Blake looked back and smiled at him. I'd wager, Professor, that you might have a few hundred questions you'd like to pose to me. I might have the time for one, so ask away. Paul felt like the boy with the lamp being given a wish. Which wish should he wish? What question should he ask? And before he was able to decide how to decide, he heard himself speak. What are you? The old man chuckled. That's a fair enough question, I think. Now what am I? What are we? Now, you know, odd as it might sound, no mortal person has ever asked that one of me. Now, how can I say it so as to make some sort of sense to you? Let me begin by telling you what I am. I'm not what you call a spirit or a ghost or such as that. Now, I don't know nothing about such matters as that at all. And I'm not from Mars nor some outer space planet. He paused and thought for a moment before continuing. No. Try for a moment to imagine, Professor, what you call the world. Now, I don't just mean the Earth itself, nor just where all those wondrous glittering stars abide. I mean the whole damn show in what you call space and time. Now, you see, we've already run aground, since you can't truly imagine even that, but it can't be helped. You'll just have to let me tell it as best I can. So there it is, the what you call it, the universe, and there it sits like a tiny island in a vast sea. And now the little bugs on that island, there's nothing more than a bit of turf where they spend their short lives. The bugs are like you mortal folks, no offence intended or implied. And we'd like to be what you might imagine as sailors or explorers. And we sail over unimaginable distances from beautiful cities in a faraway land. And this land and its 4 glorious cities are what you would call infinitely far away and long ago. Although in truth, these mortal folk have no sense of infinite broad enough or deep enough to make sense out of what I'm telling to you. But to make me point, my people are like these sailors, what get marooned on this little island of yours. Except that by now it isn't like being marooned at all, since we now have nowhere else to go. Like yourselves, we now live here, on this tiny island in this wonderful world. But you must understand, there's nothing unnatural or what you call supernatural about ourselves. It's just that you human beings haven't truly scratched the surface of what's really natural at all. So then, Try to imagine what would transpire if the shadow of one of the sailors fell upon the tiny little bug world. The bugs wouldn't know what to make of it at all, trying to comprehend it with their bug ideas and talking about it in their uninspiring bug talk. But then, if one of the sailors was to get down on his hands and knees and look at the bugs for a moment up close, well, the bugs would become all frightened and confused. For the sailor, though, it's just a momentary interest, a curiosity. What you call your human existence and history is for us just a momentary interest, a strange brief curiosity. From the time your hairy ancestors stood up on their hind legs to this very moment is, for us, no more than a single flap of a hummingbird's wing as he sips the nectar from a flower on a soft, warm morning in the spring. The old man looked closely at Paul and smiled. Now, I suspect I've confused you entirely, eh, Professor? Paul sat in silence, trying to digest what he had heard, and then he noticed that the soft sounds of singing had resumed, emanating from all around him. Bobby Blake stood and stretched and glanced towards the brightening east. Well, now, it's getting to be that time. Last call, so to speak. He looked down at Paul and smiled gently. Don't be fooling yourself, Professor. It's all just a moment in the unfolding of a golden dream. Every bit of it. You know this is so even if you don't know you know it. In time you'll wake up and that'll be that. The sounds of the soft silvery music increased, and the luminous spots in the mist began to grow brighter and to move quickly in zigzags. The old man gazed deeply into Paul's eyes. So I'll be saying goodnight to you then, and offering up this bit of parting advice. It'll be better for you and your friends to leave this part of the world. Right now the sailors are trying to cope with a mutiny, and some of the bugs might get squashed along the way, if you take my meaning. So receive it as it's intended, just a friendly piece of advice. Bobby Blake walked slowly through the mist towards the nearby lights, muttering sounds Paul couldn't decipher, and moving his arms in strange gestures. Paul stood and watched him walk away. And then he remembered another question, the one Ellen had asked the day they arrived in Galway. Bobby, one more quick one. Is this the Kyo Shog, the fairy mist? The old man stopped, turned, and faced Paul, who stood with his arms extended, indicating the thick fog surrounding them. This stuff? Nah, it's what they call fog. A common weather phenomenon. Most likely caused by a stationary front inversion. And while Bobby spoke, the lights behind him and around him blazed and spun and darted madly in the mist. The stars had almost disappeared, pale in the brightening sky. In the west, Paul discerned the tops of distant hills and the dark, languid expanse of Loch Corrib. He then detected a deep, resonant rumbling below him and all around him. The old man smiled and motioned with his hand. You'd best not look, Professor. Shy fellow that I am. Good night, Professor. A good night to you now. Paul's eyes closed involuntarily, and the rumbling sound became like a violent rush of wind that blew for a moment and then ceased altogether.
That was magical, and Dennis does conjure up some absolutely amazing visions of Ireland in his book, as well as a superb story with enough plot twist to knit a jumper.
That's cool, I like that. Well, I'm well into the first book and I'm loving it. Although it's possibly fair to say the book is best read by adults.
Yes, I think I'd agree with that. I found it somewhat scary in places. It's almost crossing the genres of myth, fantasy, mystery, and with a little bit of horror thrown in there. So I would say, older teenagers and adults, really. A great read, though. And, of course, you can find details on where to get the book in our show notes.
Yes. How about some music now? Something a little bit fey. Something to summon up past times.
Got just the thing. How about having a listen to Lullaby by Portcullis?
that was Lullaby by Portcullis from their album The King's Return. They really are quite unique, aren't they?
They certainly are. And keep listening as we'll be hearing a lot more from them in future shows.
Well, this party show has been amazing.
Hold on. We're not finished yet.
Really?
Yes, we've got some lovely listener feedback.
Oh, great.
Do you remember that super story by Alicia, the witchy godmother, in SP12 called I Forgot?
Oh, yes, I do. About the old lady and the mirror. That was a lovely story.
Yeah, it was. Well, Alicia left us a lovely voice message, our first on the new voice thingy on the website.
Oh, that's cool. Let's listen.
Hi, Ruth and Gary, witchy godmother here. I just wanted to say how wonderfully magical and professional your podcast always is. Being in the baby stages of this, I now see how enormous the job is to put out such a beautiful show. Thank you. Hugs and sparkles.
That was lovely. Thank you so much, Alicia.
And thank you for your really kind words. And do let us know when you're up and running.
And before we continue, we've actually got another message from our new voice thingy on the website.
Oh, do we?
Yes, it's from Celt in America.
Oh, yes, I remember now.
Hello and happy Solstice from a Celt in America.
Well, that was super. Thank you for leaving us a message.
That's absolutely great. Thank you, and many blessings to you. Now, I've heard that Dave the Bard has got a new album out. Is that right?
Well, of course it is. This could be the best album yet. It goes in the vein of his other albums. It's absolutely amazing. I absolutely love it. Not only are nearly all of the songs about different Celtic gods, but the whole album almost weaves a magical story through the worlds.
Okay, so now I've got to hear it. What track have you chosen?
Well, this is the title track of the album, and it's about the Green Man, the ancient horned god of the land. So have a listen to Antlered Crown and Standing Stone.
I am the face within the leaves, I'm the voice within the trees. I am boy, I am man, the face of the changing land, and I have been your constant guide. From your caves on the mountainside, we have walked hand in hand. And everywhere that I have been, my passing turns the grey to green. The birds sing to the dawn, and the land has awoken. And oh, my lady lays with me, and our love weaves a tapestry, eternal threads unbroken. I am lover, I am father, I am horned god and king. I'm the life in all of nature that is reborn every spring. Call of stag and cry of eagle, I am child of barleycorn, and I am the antlered crown and standing stone. I am the oats, the corn and grain, a bearded man with a crooked cane. Cut me down, I must die, for the land to be born again. But don't you cry and don't you grieve, for soon the wild hunt I will lead on the night of Samhain. I am lover, I am father, I am horned god and king. I'm is grey. Where am I this winter's day? Bones of trees, fallen leaves, the time of the winter queen. But through the wind and snow and rain, know that a part of me remains. Holly stands evergreen. I am lover, I am father, I am horned god and king. I'm the life in all of nature that is reborn every spring. Call of stag and cry of eagle, I am child of barleycorn, and I am the antlered crown and standing stone, standing stone.
Amazing. So uplifting.
It certainly is. And that was Dave the Bard with Antlered Crown and Standing Stone from his new album of the same name. And of course you can find out where to get Dave's album in the show notes.
So have we really come to the end of the show now?
Yes, sadly we have.
So with that, we'd like to wish you a wonderful holiday season. Nadolig llawen a blwyddyn newydd dda.
And for those who don't speak Welsh, a happy and healthy and prosperous New Year.
Hwyl.
We caught a stag? We caught a stag.
Well, James Bond.
Yes, we caught a stag. Like that. Yeah. Yes, we caught a stag.
For those of you in the summer...
On the other side of the world.
For those of you in upside down land... Hello, Spiral Dogs. Anyway,
Yeah,
I'm
hi,
talking
guys.
to you.
Did that taste that good?
I sprayed it up my nose instead of my mouth.
Okay, water sprays are supposed to be for the throat, not the nose. I don't believe you did that.
Neither. Right. I've forgotten where I was now.
You've been listening to the Celtic Myth Pod Show, available from CelticMythPodShow.com.
We hope you've enjoyed the show and will stay tuned for the next episode. You can send us an email or some voice feedback to Gary and Ruth at CelticMythPodShow.com. The show notes for this episode can also be found on the website. We'd like to say a special thank you to Kulan's Hounds, who provided us with the theme music for our show. You can find them at www.sfhounds.com. We'd also like to say a big thank you to Anne Bruce, Master Harper, and Keltoria, with a K, Celtic New Age Music, who have both given the show unrestricted access to their music. And thanks again go to Diane Arkinstone and Kim Robertson, whose music has been used as some of the transitions you've heard in this show. You'll find links to all of these wonderful artists in the show notes at shownotes.celticmythpodshow.com.